Hello everyone, it's Jazz, West Ham Minds channel special show on Declan Rice. Again, it's what I've been hearing recently, and I think it all kicked off again with Graham Souness. And if I go back to the beginning, I mean, yeah, are the pundits right about Rice? It all started off, probably 2-3 years ago when Rice sort of, began to make his name at West Ham. Began to sort of, become a regular at West Ham. And then, West Ham fans began to see what he is. Became a captain after Noble retired. And then obviously broke into the England team. And so far he's taken everything really, really well. Very strong-minded individual. It all started off obviously with that argument, will he play for Republic of Ireland or England? I thought he should and would pick Ireland because with respect it's easier to get in the team, but Rice being Rice, he backed himself as he always does. Very confident lad in himself and his ability, and he picked England and he's been a regular. And that can't be said for too many West Ham players in modern times, and he's done it. And that upset a few Irish fans, including Roy Keane. And whether that sways his judgment on him sometimes, I don't know. But Roy Keane, Roy Keane kind of left Ireland in the middle of the World Cup before it started, didn't he? But there you go. But players, that's one of the arguments. For me, the pundits should be a mixture of ex-players who've come from the so-called top four, and there should be some pundits from outside the top four. That's why I don't like it when largely, especially Sky, it's all Man United, Liverpool players. That's all there is. And what's even worse is when we're playing Man United, Liverpool, then the pundit is often an ex-Man United or Liverpool, providing his views on his own club. That shouldn't happen. And that's why people like Matthew Letizia, Tony Gale, Tony Cottee, Andy Gray, great pundits from non-top four clubs were great, provide that balanced view, which is what we need. Now it's just all Liverpool, all Man United. It's so bad that when West Ham play another team, you've got Glenn Hoddle in there sometimes on BT. What the hell? Or you've got a couple of other Spurs players that like talking about West Ham. I'm like, what's going on here? So I think they need to look at themselves as channels and provide a balanced studio, I think, in there. That's kind of ideally from both clubs who are playing, I think one from each. That's what you need. You don't have to have Liverpool, Man United in it all the time. What I can suggest is 3 people, one from each team playing and one neutral. That's good enough for me. But what's happening is no. And then obviously if they're commentating on a West Ham player like Rice, then at the beginning Gary Neville had no time for him. He said he's nobody, got no time for him. And that upset a lot of the West Ham fans who don't hide their feelings, as we know. And then he began to sort of sway, and now he's like, I know I was a bit wrong. And then you've got Roy Keane, obviously, you're not happy with the Ireland situation with Rice. He's not keen on him sometimes. And then you've got, now Graham Souness, isn't it, really? But I think the argument about whether he's good or not, it's kind of not there anymore. He is good, right? Even in the Euro sort of championships final, England, Italy, everyone knows he played really well in the final. He's got West Ham into the semi-finals of Europa, and he's a captain, and he's a regular Premiership player, doesn't get injured a lot. It's really good CDM, came as a centre-back, now he's a CDM, right? And so whether he's good or not, that's not really an argument anymore. The argument now, I think, is about the price. And it's a bit of politics here now, and I think I agree with the West Ham fans. It's like, he's going to end up in a top 4, top 5, top 6 team, isn't he? And those pundits are from those clubs. And whether they're trying to drive down the price, I don't know, right? So it could be a bit of that. So the argument for me, it's about the price, right? A couple of years ago, West Ham fans were thinking about 125 million because they looked at Maguire's price. one or two other players that perhaps Leicester got money for, Brighton, yeah. So they're kind of comparing it to that. But what we really got to do is we shouldn't look at prices more than a season old. You've got to look in a modern context. The economy's changing, the finance are changing all the time. It's all about supply and demand. So I don't think, especially in my show now, we're going to talk about the price, what I think it is, and then we're going to look at some prices of players out there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start off and look at, again, it's very specialised. So we should not be looking at strikers, prices of strikers or defenders or goalkeepers or wingers. We need to look at the midfield, especially the central midfield. And then we can begin to gauge an accurate idea of what the price for Rice is really. But before I get into it, Graham Souness's comments were that he didn't think that he warranted a fee closer to the landmark 100 million mark. He felt that you need kind of three things in your game as a CDM to warrant that kind of price. And as an example, an unfair example, he talked about Modric, who is truly world class, and it's a bit unfair to kind of start to compare Rice with Modric. They're very, very different players. Modric is a unique beast, you know. He's been around the block, very, very reliable, top teams he's played for, many honours, Croatian legend. So he was talking about CDM should not only be able to defend, but also should be able to score a few goals, assist a few goals. And I'm not too sure about that. Because then again, because I think you've seen what happened to Souček, where I think perhaps Rice, being super confident that time a year and a half ago, began to probably tell Moyes, can I play as a CDM but with a license to attack a lot more? And that really brought Souček's form completely down. He's gone from a 10 goal a season player to kind of nothing, you know. And that was his strength really. Souček is not a very strong typical CDM, you know. He plays in that central position, but I don't think he's that good at tackling. He's got a good engine on him, but his strength was in going up front for corners, free kicks, getting on the end of deflections, odd header here and there, and by hook or crook, getting a good set of goals and assists for him, really. But then, Rice told Moyes, I want to play up front. Souček had to stay behind, and the form went downhill for both of them in a bit. I mean, much more for Souček. And then Rice this season, he's not quite been at it, has he? But he has set himself very, very high standards. And I didn't want Rice to take penalties, free kicks, corners, score from 50 yards. And I think things began to get to his head, and he got a little bit lost in that. For me, a CDM is a simple CDM, stays there centrally, protects the back four, wins the ball as quickly as he can, and then straight away he gives it to the more attacking players like the wingers, attacking central midfielders, and new strikers, and that's it. You know, that's all I want from a CDM. But then if you're really, really lucky, you can get a Modric. Looking at own history, you can get an Ian Bishop, a John Moncur, a Martin Allen, who's actually good at 2-3 things in central midfield. Not only short-range passing, long-range passing, the odd shots here and there, and putting his foot in. But more often than not, those players are hard to find now that have got all those attributes. Paqueta, I ain't got a clue what he is. You know, he's good at keeping the ball, got a few tricks in him. But has he got anything more than that? And can he really tackle as a CDM? So he's stuck between the two. And that goes for Fornells. I don't know where he belongs on the pitch. For me, I don't think he's a winger. Not sure he's a CDM. Don't think he's an attacking central midfielder. Is he number 10? I don't know. So all those questions you got to think about, and Graham Souness was saying you got to do all three things, which I don't think there's many players out there that can do that really. So for me, Rice, and maybe he's began to do that last 5-6 games where Souček's beginning to go back and attack a bit more, and Rice has visibly, to me, has just stayed behind in front of the back four, and I think that's cool. That's good. He's good at breaking up play and that kind of thing. But for some of the pundits, that's not good enough because they're talking about the price, really. So for me, I don't think Rice at the moment is that player that can score 5, 6, 7 goals a season that can set up 3, 4, 5 goals. I don't think that's him. He's tried it. It didn't work out. Anything can change in the future. He's still very, very young. For me, he's not that kind of player. He's simply a very good CDM. And Graham Souness went as far as saying he thinks if you move from West Ham, then that team will play him as a centre back, maybe one of three. And that's kind of, I'm not sure about that. I think that's kind of undermining his quality a bit, really. But that's what they think of him. It's very interesting. It's about debate. It's about opinion. That's what they think. I don't necessarily agree with all those comments. But if we go back to the price, I'm going to share my screen with you guys, and then we'll kind of gauge and, you know, see where we end up, really. So what I'm going to do, let me share my screen with you guys. There we go. So this is this season 2023 transfer fees of central midfielders. So you've got a bunch of attacking midfielders in there, you've got a bunch of central, and then you got defensive. So they're all in there, but more importantly than not, they're all central midfielders. So Mr. Fernandes, all action Fernandes, World Cup winning Argentinian Fernandes, Chelsea, 121 million euros for him. They say he's central here, midfield, not defensive. I think he is defensive, right? And when you look at his goal scoring record, there's hardly anything there. It's comparable to Rice. So it's interesting to me that, yeah, he doesn't assist a lot, he doesn't score a lot, he's 121 million euros. So that's another yardstick for us to look at. His age is 22. Very close to kind of Rice's age. I think Rice, if I bring him up, Rice is 24 and he's 22. So that's kind of something out there for us to look at around the 115 million mark, isn't it? Which, again, it's supply and demand. It's how much you want that player at that time. They've got new owners. They want to get the fans on their side. Is it creating an auction? All these things you've got to look at that undermine finally and confirm what the price will be. But 121 for him. Casemiro, 30 years old, 70 million euros for him. He is a CDM, so that's interesting. Kevin Phillips, 26, 49 million euros. So you got a nice blend of three players there at different ages, really. 26-year-old Phillips. And all three of them don't score any goals, as far as I'm concerned, right? Not to the effect that Graham Souness is saying. And you got three different price brackets in there. You know, you got Nunez, Wolves, 45 million. You got our very own beloved Paqueta at 42 million euros, and Nana, 35 million euros. So I think don't need to look any further than that. Actually, Basuma, let me put him in there as well. 29 million euros, right? It's got a nice blend of different people, but we can all agree that there isn't a lot of assists or goals in any of these guys, right? Because there ain't that many Modric type players I just mentioned, right? And that's that. Before I actually begin to talk about Rice's price in comparison to these guys, let's just have a look at the West Ham squad. And yeah, Rice is the most expensive. And what's interesting about this website, it values Declan Rice at 80 million euros, everyone. So if you go back to our list, he would sit just above Casemiro, just behind Fernandes. So 80 million euros they value him at. Fernandes, 121 million players. Now I'm going to look at the world list of true CDMs and their value. We got one player who plays for Real Madrid, Aurelien Tchouameni, is it? I can't pronounce it. French player, 23, 90 million for him. And Declan is second in the world, 80, on par with Rodri, which again, that's a great compliment. Rodri's 26. The slowly establishing himself as a very good player, Bruno Gomes, 25 years old, 60 million his value. Fabinho's 45 million. And then the one that again is interesting is when you look at the England squad. And they value Phil Foden at 110 million, Saka at 110 million euros, Bellingham at 110 million euros, Harry Kane 90, then our own Declan Rice at 80 million euros. So again, when you look at those 4 different bits of data, that's more than enough data to give me an idea of what I would want for Rice, what he could go for, and just compare it really. And again, talking about supply and demand, I think Bellingham is the one everyone's after. He's 19, and for me, he's better than Declan Rice. And what I've seen of him, he's a complete midfield player. He has got goals in him. He has got assists in him. He has got tackles in him. He's a complete midfield player that I've seen after a long, long time. And this website values him at 110 million. And that is a good kind of comparison for me, really. The rest, I don't really play in that position. So Declan is somewhere around, yeah. So if we look at 110 for Bellingham, you've got, Paqueta was 45, but then Fernandes 121, Casemiro. So you can already see that he sits somewhere just behind Bellingham, doesn't he? And in between Bellingham and Casemiro, doesn't he? So you're looking at 80 million, aren't you? You're looking at 80, 85, depending on how desperate the owners are, what their situation is really. So top of my mind, the target for me got to be around 85 million pounds, I think, plus add-ons. In total, if I can get the whole package to 100 million, I would be happy. But that is a top end target for the board, I think. 70 million they should be able to easily get, but I would stick a bit more on there and say I'd want 85. I think 85 million pounds for Declan Rice plus add-ons would be my target. So 85 straight away, plus 15 in add-ons, and that'll get you over to the 100, I think. Again, it depends on if you want a player from that team or not. So lots and lots of different things to think about, really. For me, what's going to push the price up, perhaps, is that Liverpool have got an ageing central midfield. They don't often go around buying 85 million pound players. They buy about 45 million. That's the issue there. They spent a lot of money on their ground. Chelsea's the one where we could get a lot more money because the owner, again, they're struggling. Their manager's struggling. He's got to get the fans on board and make this big signing. I know Fernandes 121 million. If he teams him up with Rice, that'll be a really interesting centre mid for them, with kind of Kante getting on a bit, that kind of thing. So they could be very interesting. Newcastle will have an open checkbook whether Rice wants to take a risk, because you don't know how that project's going to go. For me, it's going to go quite well, but I don't know how quickly. Man United, they're going to be taken over soon. It's going to be debt-free club. They're going to have the big fat checkbook out there. So I think the environment is building well for West Ham in terms of creating that auction, really. And with that, I think we're going to hit 90 million purely because Chelsea situation, Liverpool situation, Man United situation. 2 of those clubs have got new owners. Could be third club with a new owner, but I don't think Liverpool are going to be that. But United are going to have new owners. Chelsea have just about got a new owner. Because of that situation and the way he's established in the Premiership, good age, in the England squad, largely injury-free player, very, very good record of that. I think 90 million is achievable, plus add-ons to get them 100, 110. So I think we've got to look at 90 purely, and it's a good window to sell him, I think. The only thing I don't like, which again, it's nothing to do with what we're discussing today, is that we haven't managed to get half-decent CDM in there already. It's just West Ham. We're not proactive, That guy should have been in there already, but it's just one of those things, right? And in return, like I said, the way I would recycle the cash is spend the bulk of it on the left back, right back, and then just to get a normal 20 million around that normal CDM. No nonsense CDM. No, I don't want my CDM to get 10, 15 goals a season. There's no need for that. Spend the money on your left back, right back, and wingers. Bulk up front. Get another centre back in because we've lost Dawson and Zuma injures a lot, and that's it for me, I think. So for me, I think we could cheekily get 85, 90 million for Rice, and with add-ons get it over the 100 million mark. And that, but again, is subject to whether you want a player from that club. That kind of thing for me, really. So, but then you got to watch out for whoever's going to buy Bellingham. He's going to go for a bit more than that, I think. But it'd be interesting for me. But for me, I think Souness is incorrect. He's not that type of player. And that doesn't necessarily mean what the price is going to be, because Fernandes, 121 million euros, he hardly scores or assists anything. So that's not really a yardstick to go by. And there's not many of those type of players. Modric, as an example. But he's better than Phillips, and Casemiro a lot younger than him. And so he sits just in between those really crazy high prices and the kind of higher prices, really. So I think, let's go for 90 million plus add-ons to get it over the 100 million mark. I think 100 million is a good mark mentally for the board and all the fans to understand that, that's the whole deal is 100 million for Rice, and I think that's fair enough. He probably wants to go. He's given us a couple of good years, and hopefully he'll probably win something in his last season and make it easier for him to go. But more importantly than that is we've got to recycle the cash, and the board have got to put their hands still in their pocket, put another 60 in there, add it to the 100. You've got 140, 150 million. Get a new manager in there. Let's revamp the age. Get new fullbacks, exciting football, attacking players in there. Spend money on the training ground. Good backroom team, really build a world-class international scouting team, and away we go and lift a cloud over the club, really. So I hope you've enjoyed the show. Again, in the comments, let me know what you think Rice will go for. But for me, I think it's 90 million, straight 90 million, as near cash deal as possible, with add-ons going just above 100, 105 million mark for me, really. So again, have a great Sunday. Take care. I'm a bit tired. I've done 2 free shows. I hope you enjoyed them, and I'll be back tomorrow with the 60-second West Ham news and anything else that's breaking from our club. Come on, you Irons. Take care.